Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Bellini's La Sonnambula with conductor Richard Mills, and which was live from Melbourne's Victorian Opera, which I saw on the opera platform. And this was also a concert version of this particular opera, headed by the ever-fabulous, ever-dazzling Jessica Pratt as our titular sleepwalker Amina, and accompanying her were the likes of Carlos Enrique Barcenas, who sang the role of Elvino, Amina's lover, and Paolo Pecchioli, who sang the dashing yet mysterious Conte Rodolfo. With that said, let's cut to the chase as I talk about the singers, starting off with, of course, Jessica Pratt as Amina. Now, it should be no surprise that Amina is one of Madame Pratt's signature roles of all time, next to the likes of Lucia, Gilda, and maybe to even some extent Semiramide, Armina, and many of these great Bel Canto roles. And as to be expected from someone as fabulous, great, and overly magnificent as Jessica Pratt, she definitely stole the show. She really headed the show superbly, all thanks to her great acting skills, making Amina quite a three-dimensional character and not just some willowy, weeping willow who constantly is shy and seems to be the overly goody two-shoes. She manages to add a little bit of spunk to this heroine, and she managed to do so well with her characterization. But more than anything, her vocal assets were at their absolute prime, as they've always been. Her high notes were gleaming and brilliant. Her overall timbre manages to be so smooth and gorgeous, and she was just overall endearingly gorgeous. So I have to give a lot of high marks to Jessica Pratt for her great artistry in this particular role, all thanks to her wonderful musicianship, and of course, her exceptional skills as a Bel Canto singer. Then we go to her lover, Elvino, who was sung by Carlos Enrique Barcenas. I mainly heard about this tenor through name only, and he seems to specialize in a lot of these light lyric / full lyric tenor roles, and his career seems to be ever progressing. And it certainly was in full evidence when he sang the role of Elvino. He has a tall, handsome, and really wonderful presence, both vocally and theatrically. He was able to really sell it with all of those fine vocal lines, but more than anything, he was an absolute darling on stage. That tall figure and how he managed to tower over his colleagues, and he was just really charming as a singer. He certainly used his own unique charm wonderfully, all thanks to that tall physique and that equally wonderful lyric tenor voice. Now, there were times that some of his high notes did sound a little bit pinched, but he managed to get a lot better throughout the entire opera, and I thought he did a fine job with a couple of his solo arias and, of course, his many duets with Jessica Pratt. On top of that, their vocal chemistry was really palpable. You could definitely feel that they are lovers who are about to get married. You can definitely tell that they had a lot of fun playing these two roles really well, and they just had a lot of fun all together. So I'm not going to mince words here. Carlos Enrique Barcenas has a solid, full lyric tenor voice, which has a lot of possibilities for finer, greater roles, and I'm sure that he will have a wonderful future ahead of him. Here's hoping that he'll have a lot more gigs, and here's hoping that he will definitely sell it much further in a lot of great theaters. Paolo Pecchioli, as always, was a magnificent Conte Rodolfo, all thanks to that suave and elegant stage presence and that equally suave basso cantante voice. He managed to sing this particular role so well, as he's always been, and he just did an overall fabulous job. He was really elegant in his phrasing. His presence was commanding, yet endearing, but more than anything, he was charismatic in his own special way. Greta Bradman was gorgeous as Lisa. And what I noticed about her voice is that it is a lot fuller than what I would expect from any singer who sings Lisa. Lisa, to my ears, should sound a lot lighter, more soubrette-ish, and a lot breezier than the more agile lyric coloratura soprano voice of Amina. Greta Bradman's voice is a lot more of a full lyric soprano with some really great high notes, and she did sing those high notes really well. Yet I still have to give a lot of credit for her characterization, her musicianship, and her overall charm which she gives to this particular role. She definitely embodied the role of Lisa quite well, making her pretty, yet kind of jealous towards Amina, but she wasn't too catty when it came to her characterization. I still have to give her a lot of credit for her fine musicianship and how she managed to play off glamour so well. Roxanne Hislop was a matronly and gorgeous Teresa, all thanks to that firm-sounding lyric dramatic mezzo voice, and she was able to be fine in her characterization. She managed to make Teresa quite loving, caring, and an overall fine person, all thanks to how she managed to sing her lines so well, and she managed to bring out the best out of this character role. We also had such fabulous singing from Timothy Newton's masculine and wonderful Alessio, and Thomas Dalton's lyrical and lovely notary. So overall, the singing was exceptional, especially when you have the likes of Jessica Pratt, Carlos Enrique Barcenas, and Paolo Pecchioli leading such a great ensemble cast. Each of them had a lot to offer, both vocally and theatrically, and the results were phenomenal. And the conducting done by Richard Mills was also great. He made sure that the orchestra, chorus, and singers went well together, and he took note of where he had to play softly and where he had to go all forte, especially evidenced in the A non giunge finale, which he was able to conclude everything so powerfully that it was jaw-dropping. And of course, the chorus and orchestra of the Victorian opera were really fine all throughout. So overall, with fine conducting done by Maestro Richard Mills, and of course, great singing from the likes of Jessica Pratt, Carlos Enrique Barcenas, Paolo Pecchioli, Roxanne Hislop, Greta Bradman, Timothy Newton, and Thomas Dalton, this particular concert version of La Sonnambula was great in terms of the all-star vocal cast, and of course, the fine efforts of the Victorian Opera's chorus and orchestra led by Maestro Richard Mills. And for those of you who watched this concert version of La Sonnambula, what did you think of it? Did you feel like Jessica Pratt stole the show as Amina? Did you feel like there was another singer who stole her thunder, like let's say Carlos Enrique Barcenas, Paolo Pecchioli, Greta Bradman, Roxanne Hislop, Timothy Newton, or Thomas Dalton? Or did you feel like there was something that just didn't really hold up? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in much later tonight where I review Puccini's Tosca at the Arena di Verona. So until then, have a great day, everybody.